Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick, here with you as always, and thanks for joining us for episode number 60. It's also World Whiskey Day, at least the day I'm filming this. This will probably come in the day after, but hope everybody out there is enjoying a glass of something or other on this special day. So today what we have for you is a Scotch whiskey from the Speyside region. And it is the Benromach 10-year. So, Benromach, it's been around for a little bit. Recently, I say recently, we're talking about 1994, was bought by Gordon and MacPhail. So, it is distilled by Benromach, but it was snatched up by the independent bottler, Gordon and MacPhail, and they produce a number of things, and it's really quite astonishing what they're able to do in terms of going back and looking at the older stuff of Benromach before the sort of crash of the mid-80s in Scotch whiskey. So looking at pre-crash time, new make spirit, not this, but comparing that with the spirit that they were creating from completely new equipment, new stills, new everything. And what they found out was that it was pretty close to the old new make. So there's certainly going to be some differences in terms of aging and that sort of thing. But this is, and it doesn't say it on the bottle for sure, but there's definitely a good sherry influence into it, which makes me think that it's spent most, if not at least some of its time, in sherry casks. So, what do we know about this? Well, it's a 10-year-old, so we have an age statement, which is getting to be more and more unusual. It's not to say the quality is going down, it's just more and more of us want more of the good stuff, so it's harder for distilleries to put out aged spirit if they don't actually have as much of it anymore, because they're trying to stretch out their stocks. Anyway, that's a topic for a different day. So, 43% ABV. Not too bad. Could be a little bit higher, but I'm not complaining because a lot of other things are 40% ABV and the real bare minimum alcohol proof, but that's alright. So, let's get into the whiskey. Now, it's 10-year-old. You look at the color, and I don't think that there's any caramel coloring added. Could be a slight bit, I'm not sure. But because there does seem a little bit of a tinge in there, it doesn't look completely natural color. There is definitely a golden sort of glow when you hold it up to the light. But again, it's been aged 10 years, possibly all of those 10 years in ex-sherry cask, so that could just be the influence from that barrel, not necessarily an indicator that it was tainted by New 51A caramel coloring or anything like that. But it's worth asking because you don't see it anywhere on here, so it's still a valid possibility. So let's go in for the nose. Now, one thing you'll notice right off the get-go is if you're attacking this Benromach for the first time and you're thinking of picking up a Speyside in particular and you happen to land on this, you might be expecting something that is, a rich sherry, definitely malty, but overall fruity type of whiskey, because that's sort of what we attribute these Speyside whiskeys. Well, that's sort of been the case in the past, let's say, 5 years or so, maybe even longer, is that it's been the trajectory, really, in what people are wanting in their whiskeys. But coming up to modern day, in just the past couple of years, people are wanting more variety, as we've certainly seen. More competitors out there are trying to put together different expressions, different types of whiskeys, different finishes, different collector's items sort of thing, just to get more people sort of at the liquor store buying it, for better or worse. And definitely the collectors are out there in full force, because a lot of the the whiskeys that we really clamor to find are being kept up in somebody's closet or what have you. But anyway, so the first thing, getting back to the nose, is that when you go in for the nose, the first thing that you get is a nice, really subtle, but definitely present peatiness to it, which is really wonderful because you don't expect it, or at least I didn't expect it, never having tasted Benromach before. Now certainly there's some other Speyside Scotch out there that is peated as well. It's not all Speysides are unpeated. That's not true. There's also Glenfarclas is another one that I have reviewed in the past that has a slight bit of peatiness to it. Definitely nothing like your standard Islay Scotch, your Lagavulin or Ardbeg or anything like that. But it's still there, and it has a nice balance to that malty, fruity, ex-sherry note that we get in there. So let's go in for the taste. The first thing that's nice with this whiskey is that the peated malt in there is really delivering the rest of the flavor, which is sort of bundled up in a nice little package. But you get a nice, briny, salty, almost sea salt-esque sense to it in that peat. Little hint of iodine in there, but that's just the sort of the first intake into the whiskey. And then what you get is a nice ex-sherry cask influence into their beautiful, rich, ripe fruit notes in there. Definitely getting a little bit of that malted barley note, that fresh baked bread note. You know, the bakery at 5 a.m. that I've used that analogy a couple times. But really what is dominating this is the peated malt that's in there, and then the fruitiness of that sherry. And I think the aging was done absolutely brilliantly. You can tell this is very high quality casks because it's just so rich. It doesn't have that astringent note that some sherry whiskeys can get if they've been aged for too long or aged just long enough in not so favorable casks. You'll get a little bit of that astringent note, but here you get something that's really deep and rich in flavor, which is really nice. In terms of the finish, it's not overly long lasting. Again, that 43% ABV could be kicked up a few notches, and you might see a little bit stronger finish in there. But not too bad. It has a sort of resiny finish to it, in the sense that it's a little bit more palatable than your quick and easy 40% ABV whiskey that you taste, and you get a little bit of a sense of what's going on in there and different flavor profiles and everything, and then it just disappears. This sticks around a little bit longer because that finish and the mouthfeel of the whiskey at the end has got this resiny sense to it. It's hard to explain. It's definitely a great summertime whiskey, I would say. And I'd say that because there's a lot of whiskeys out there that seem a little bit heavier, they seem a little bit more wholesome and complex. And a lot of people attribute that to winter time, of really being able to sit back and warm up by the fire or something like that. But this, I would definitely sort of market it towards the summertime because it does have this really nice, light, airy fruitiness with the peat that just elevates it that much more. It's really just a substantial whiskey. And for the price, I think the price of this was upper 30s, early $40 or lower $40 range. I'm not absolutely positive on that, so let me know if you have anything that's largely different from that. I know Benromach makes a couple other expressions, and again, bottled by Gordon and MacPhail, which really do a nice job of their whiskey making, especially bringing back the older essence of the Speyside whiskeys in particular. Again, just with that peatiness that isn't overwhelming, but it's a nice balance and really just complements the entire whiskey as a whole. So let's go in for one last pass here. Really just nice, ripe fruits, but more tropical fruits, not the apples and oranges maybe that you would sense in other whiskeys, or lime, but it's more tangerine. Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit more tropical sense to it. Tangerine, like I said, and a little hint of strawberry. It's got a very lucrative sweetness to it, if you will. It's just really interesting in the sense that the experience is the same every time you take a sip. You get the nice delivery by the peat, slight little peatiness, a little bit of iodine, like I said, saltiness, the brine, sea salt, that sort of thing, and then a real just explosion of the sherry cask influence in there, and those tropical fruits that you get on the nose come back in again, and then with the finish, it's clean, quick, with a little bit of a resin sense to it at the end. But overall, a really nice whiskey. And a good value whiskey, too. Definitely one for the Scotch connoisseur or whiskey connoisseur's shelf. So let's go in for a score. Well, I think it's fair to give it a straight top whiskey score of 90 out of 100. I look forward to trying some more of their expressions, and hopefully that score gives it some room to go either up or down, depending. Hopefully it stays roughly in that same area, because it would be nice to see some really good consistency within the whole entire expression. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But again, it's World Whiskey Day, so I hope you are or have had a great World Whiskey Day and have tried something maybe new or special or unique, or just had a glass of or your go-to whiskey or whatever's on your shelf. But if you're going to drink responsibly, as always, we know this, and we'll see you next time.